This is where we could be 20 years from today. Our economy could grow potentially to $7 trillion US. And it could be the 7th largest economy in the world. This is not my uncle or my aunt saying, this is McKinsey. And we didn't pay them to write this report. It's funny, the number 7 is a magical number. 7th century, 7 centuries later, 7 centuries later, and 20 years from today, we can look forward to being the 7th largest economy by being a $7 trillion economy. And I happen to be 47 years old. How's that? I think this is a great future. We're going to have potentially 135 million people in the middle class who are going to be consumptive. We're going to have about $1.8 trillion worth of market that year in 2030, or 2031, or 2032, depending on when you start. You can start in 2010 or you can start in 2012. A good chunk of our GDP is going to be in the cities. We can have the necessary confidence for our own diplomacy, for our own cultural achievements, for our own social achievements, for our own geopolitical achievements, and what have you. And it's sort of like a blank piece of paper. And we're going to give you that pencil, and you can draw it. You can draw whatever drawing you want to be on that picture, or that blank piece of paper. There's going to be about 300 million people 20 years from today, most of whom are going to be youthful and young. I think we've got to be big-hearted about where we want our kids and grandkids want to be. I think we can do it. We were moribund just 15 years ago, now we're relevant. How are we going to do that? Growing. Imagine if there's some degree of exponentiality in the number of people who are going to be paying tax. If we assume that linearity, the government is going to be collecting enough money, and whatever money it's going to be collecting in the next 20 years, the sum of which will be about 12 trillion US. Typically, the government spends about 20% of its budget on education. That's basically how the government has been mandated by the Constitution, which was amended, that we have to spend about 20% of our budget on education. If we take 20% of that 12 trillion US, it amounts to about 2.4 trillion US. That's a lot of potatoes. Now, assuming that it cost about $50,000 to send somebody to any of the Ivy League schools in the US, that's the number. We can send 48 million Indonesians to the Ivy League schools. Assuming it's only going to cost $20,000 to send one person to any of the best universities in Indonesia, we can send 120 million Indonesians. The sad part is, we don't have as many PhDs as China does, as many PhDs as India does, on a relative and absolute basis. But the happy part is, we're going to have the money to do it. We're going to have the money to make sure that these millions of people will have the opportunity. It's not just about having an equal consequence, but it's about having an equal opportunity for everybody in Indonesia. And there is no reason for us not to be able to produce that consequence, that opportunity. I think we can get there. I'm optimistic. As long as we take ownership of where we want to be. The problem is, when I go around Indonesia and give lectures at the universities, is most Indonesians, they don't know how big they are. They don't know that our economy is twice the size of that of Saudi Arabia. They don't know that our economy is 4 times the size of Malaysia. They don't know that our economy is 5 times the size of Singapore's. They don't know that our economy is the 15th largest in the world. Now, there is this concept, bangga berbangsa. Kita tidak bisa bangga berbangsa kalau kita tidak mengetahui kebesaran kita sendiri. If we know how big we are, how relevant we are, that we're the 15th largest economy in the world, I think that's a damn good start. That's the start of a journey where we can start thinking big. And it takes thinking big to produce the necessary entrepreneurs, the necessary policymakers, the necessary scientists, the necessary academicians. You can't think big if you don't know that you're actually already big. And I think this can be game changed. Look at where we are in terms of our ranking in math, in how wired we are, how innovative we are. The number of patents that were issued in 2010 for Indonesia was only 3,500, give and take. 5,500 patents in 2010. You know how many patents were issued for China and Japan? About 350,000 each. That's because they've taken a view on where they want to put the money. We need to take a view on our political stickiness. Today there's a wide diversity of our politics. Tens of parties. My view is, as we become more and more educated, I think we can not only make more choices, but I think those choices are going to be more streamlined. Whether it's an ideological choice, or an economic choice, or what have you. And there's no reason for this to be not to be further consolidated. The future of us is there. Let's not blow it. I'm here to talk about futurology, but I'm here to basically let you know that we are in a position to do whatever we can. But we can only do it if we're realistic about it. We need to recalibrate our ambitions upward, but we need to recalibrate our realism. Because with realism, I think we can even better and faster achieve our ambitions. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and patience. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.